Welcome to the very first episode of Nitro Nostalgia. I'm your host, the Master Reviewer. If you like what you hear, remember to follow my other show, The Pile Driving Critique, over on Blip TV at blip.tv/piledrivingcritique, or follow me on Twitter at Master Reviewer. Just to give you an idea where I'm coming from, I flipped during the Monday Night Wars like many of us, but I would consider myself a WCW fan first and foremost. I stuck with WCW until the very end, hoping that it would get better. Remember, these are just my opinions. If I liked something you hate, great. If I hated something you liked, great. It's okay to disagree. Sometimes I feel the collective hive mind of internet wrestling fandom forgets that. Taking place from the Mall of America was a fantastic idea. It gave Nitro a unique look and feel right off the bat from a standard wrestling arena show. Sure, it might be goofy to see wrestling presented in a mall, but I really dug the different atmosphere. The hosts of the show are Eric Bischoff, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and the debuting Steve Mongo McMichaels. You know, Mongo gets a lot of flack from people, but I have a kind of soft spot for him. He's like watching the show with your goofy friend or relative. And he wasn't annoying, say, like Rob Bartlett was on Raw. Plus, he had an awesome theme and great tombstone pile driver called the Mongo Spike. The opening contest saw Jushin Thunder Liger facing Brian Pillman. After seeing the match again, I have to say, it's not that mind-blowing or groundbreaking, but it was a sign of what was to come for the Cruiserweight division. Brian Pillman picks up the win. If you want to see a great match between these two, go check out Super Brawl 2 as they face each other for the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship. Before there was Hogan's Beach in Tampa, Florida, Pastamania was running wild, brothers, in the Mall of America. This promo is stupid and a little silly, but years later would gain popularity on the internet. Up next, the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship was on the line in yet another chapter of the Sting-Ric Flair rivalry. Of course, this match is famous for the return of Lex Luger to WCW, shocking both the wrestling world and the WWF at the time. Luger doesn't really do anything but walks down to scope out the match for about a second, and then he leaves. But it's okay because Arn Anderson comes out to watch the match. You know it's pretty impossible for Sting and Ric Flair to have a bad match together. This is a good one that ultimately ends in disqualification when Arn Anderson attacks Ric Flair, which was part of their build to the match at Fall Brawl. So immediately after Flair and Arn brawl to the back, the camera switched to a returning Scott Norton who happens to want a job with WCW. He shoves around Bischoff for a bit and tries to pick a fight with Mongo, but Randy Savage makes the save and tries to challenge Scott Norton for a match tonight, but Bischoff won't allow it because Norton isn't signed with WCW. There's kind of an overlooked segment here with Norton's return. Granted, Scott Norton wasn't a huge American wrestling star, but this set up the early chaotic Nitro that Nitro would have going for it years later. And it really gave the feeling of, wait, this is off the script, or this isn't supposed to happen type feeling that Nitro would become known for. Following that is a video package for the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal, death-defying man known as Sabu. Fun fact, Sabu's WCW theme would later be used for another favorite of mine, La Parka. Allow me to share a Sabu story while I'm at it. I was around 13 years old and went to my first indie show. Sabu happened to be the biggest name on the card. I don't remember who he was wrestling, but the show was outdoors and it happened to be raining. So while I was sitting front row, Sabu goes for a suicide dive and wipes me out and several other people, knocking us all out of our chairs. I've been a Sabu fan ever since. Michael Wallstreet returns to WCW after spending some time in the World Wrestling Federation as a tax collector. He always cuts a good promo. Sadly, this time around, he doesn't have Alexander York with him to help him. And without the use of a computer, I doubt he'll be winning many matches this time around. In the main event, the WCW Heavyweight Championship was on the line as Hulk Hogan defended against the Big Bubba Rogers. I gotta be honest, this is an okay match. Hogan and Bossman always had decent chemistry together. Perhaps one of the most interesting things was seeing the guys in the front row obviously booing and hating on Hulk Hogan. Obviously, Hulk Hogan retains the WCW Championship, and post-match the Dungeon of Doom runs in to attack the Hulkster, but Lex Luger makes the save. Hogan and Luger tease a confrontation, but Savage and Sting stop them. But Hogan offers Luger a title shot next week. This was seriously a great debut for Monday Nitro. It had pretty much everything a wrestling fan could ask for. Surprises, big-name stars, quality in-ring action, and they fit this all into an hour-long show. You can't go wrong watching this one. This has been Nitro Nostalgia with your host, the Master Reviewer.